So, welcome everyone. I'd like to call to order the December 3rd, 2025 edition of the Troutdale Citizens Advisory Committee. Code committee roll call, please.
Of course. Committee Member Castillo-White.
Present.
Chair Kester.
Here.
Committee Member Harrington.
Here.
Committee Member Minkoff.
Here.
Committee Member Long.
Here.
Committee Member Rizzo.
Here.
Committee Member Terrell. Here. Committee Member Barney.
Here.
Vice Chair Stephenson.
Here.
Committee Member Knight.
Present.
Committee Member Sanchez.
Here.
All right. At this point, I'd like to invite everyone to rise to pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this point, move to agenda item 2, public comment on non-agenda items. Yep. Start out, I think you are one member of public.
Good evening. Well, maybe I have something for you to do or contemplate.
Thank you.
Well, feel free to have a seat and state your name and
Thank you.
city for the record. And
My name is Sam Barnett, and I live in Troutdale for over 20 years now. And I love our city. And I know some of you, which is pretty nice. Some of you have been on the CAC for quite some time. And good work. So I just want to plant a seed. I'm not looking for answers right now. I just want to bring some of my concerns to you. And basically it has to do with whether, and I'll expound on this. I've learned, or I'm aware of, or I'm pretty sure that there is no liaison between the city and the county that gets heads up from the county when they want to come in and do a project within the city limits. Now, certainly big projects, of course. But as far as what they've been doing, the county came in and did to Troutdale Road and to Buxton over the last year and a half, has seemingly gone without any viable policing of the city or of themselves. You know, the things that they couldn't get right the first time or the second time and come back a year later to fix it, and it's still not really good enough. So when they come over to Troutdale to make improvements, because it's their roads, and the improvements aren't improving anything, and then so they get their projects done, eventually, some still not, and it's still a mess, and in some cases more dangerous than before. And then they determine that we haven't spent enough money, our allotment for safety or roads or whatever in East County or in Troutdale maybe. So we're going to go into the neighborhoods now, find something to do. So we're going to go in and we're going to pick a couple of intersections. Let's pick the one closest to Sweetbriar, or off Sweetbriar there. And let's tear up all 4 of those corners that already have Will-Cess accessible ramps on them that are perfectly well, fine. They're to code. They match everything else that's in Sweetbriar. But let's tear up this corner for a month and a half. And let's build something more unsafe for the wheelchairs to get up and down. In my mind, I don't know if anybody in the city of Troutdale saw the plan of what they're, and this is different from what they did on Buxton, and different from what they're doing in other places. There's 2 intersections in Sweetbriar that have this, but it was, I learned that that's why they did it. They had extra money left over and they had to go put it someplace. Did anybody from the county approach the city of Troutdale and say, hey, you know, we've got a surplus here, Have you got any idea where we might put it? Or do you want to just leave it to us to just go tear up a neighborhood for a couple months for no reason? I suggested to somebody, you know, why can't we buy Troutdale Road back and take care of ourselves? Maybe some job opportunity, a couple more city employees, you know, those kind of things. Of course, utilities and stuff. But anyway, the thing that, so these are the kind of things. I could have brought a slideshow to you and showed you all these kind of things I'm talking about. I hope that some or most of you or all of you are aware of some of these things I'm talking about. It's really hard to miss. And it certainly has been hard to miss coming up and down Troutdale Road for the past year. Buxton, I should say. And 257th. My goodness. That was going to be a freeway, right? So let's add 2 or 3 more crosswalks. I didn't realize that was a problem there. But anyway, my point is there anybody that has a relationship with the county that can see, that can have a little input? I'll tell you what I've heard for 20 years. And I'm sure that some of you have heard, oh, it's a county, we don't have any control. Really? Okay. Well, we've learned that caretakers need caretaking. We've all learned that, I hope. So who's policing the county when they're doing stuff within our city limits? Who's policing the contractors that the county has hired to stop traffic up and down the roads? Don't expect an answer. These people that are falling asleep against their signs, that are sleeping or not paying any attention at all because it might be raining. You know, I mean, I might be going out on a limb a little bit and being a little bit too picky, but I don't think so. I'll close by saying that another thing that bothers me is that, I mean, tell me if it's me, for God's sakes. Has anybody else noticed? Have you heard, well, we can't do anything, it's the county. Right. So I'm hoping that maybe you might just, a seed has been planted to kind of wonder yourselves, do we really need to just roll over on the county every time they want to come into the city of Troutdale and do something? Are we aware of what their plans are? I understand that a lot of these plans are approved and, you know, they go through city council and all that, but seriously. And that's all I have. And I meant to bring it last month. I'm sorry I didn't, but I'm glad to have remembered to have brought it this month because it's been on my mind for a long time. Last time I spoke with one of you, I threatened, and I had many times to paint over that bump on Buxton at the bottom of the hill. Fix me. I wanted to do that for months and months. Oh, the sun's out, I can do today. Well, the last time I mentioned that to somebody, it was fixed the next day, pretty much. So anyway, I didn't have to cause that kind of trouble. But that's, you know, anyway, I've said enough. But thank you for listening. Thank you for volunteering to be on this committee. I've been away a little bit from what y'all are doing, but I'm sure that you've got something on your plate that you're working on. So thank you again. And,
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for doing this here. Just so I understand questions you're asking, we might be able to look into those. Is the county communicating with the city when they're working on projects? And if so, what input and oversight does the city have regarding those projects? Is that kind of the main question?
No. Here's the main question. And I know the answer to it. Is there a clear liaison between the city and the county that does nothing but, that knows what's going on in the city before it happens? I can tell you that most on the city council, including the mayor, do not. If there's not that kind of liaison that can say, hey, can I see what you're doing? Or is there anybody appointed in the city for the county to reach out to and say, hey, we're coming in, we're going to be doing this and this, let's meet and talk about it? Or they just come in and, so if there's not that person, I really think there should be somebody appointed to do that. That's what I'm getting.
Specifically regarding public works?
streets, anything the county comes in and does, you know, that's gonna affect our city's safety or appearance.
Hi, this is Woodrow. Sam, how do you spell your last name?
It's Barnett, B-A-R-N-E-T-T.
Thank you so much, Barnett.
Sure.
So I'm old and my memory's kind of faded, but maybe some of my other committee members can help me remember. Was this part of the survey that the county did? Were some of the items that you discussed? Because I think there's different projects, right? But I thought some of these projects, like Buxton, was brought up in the survey the county did a couple of years back, where they sent out traffic surveys about what should we do on 287 and Buxton. Was that not added to that? Does anybody remember that at all?
257 had a tour.
Right, remember that?
I don't remember anything on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the whole 257th corridor, there was very specific outreach and survey stuff on that one, which didn't list us, but there was some there, but as far as the Buxton stuff, I don't remember anything.
And I don't remember Sweetbriar at all either. Because typically, recently, they do surveys, right? They come out here and they say, hey, listen, we've got some money, let's do a survey, right? And so they get community feedback. And then their contractor kind of distills what the community input was. And then it comes to here and it comes to the council. But I don't remember anything about Sweetbriar or Buxton, so definitely seeing whether there is a true gap, right? And
There's a gap.
What they want to do and.
So here's one example, and I could be completely wrong, but going west on Cherry Park towards 257th, they backed up where you can stop for the bus. Stop here, way back, so the bus can turn onto Cherry Park. I get that. But why is the crosswalk so far back as well? That corner house has arborvitae all the way around it. Somebody's going to come around that corner and not know that there's somebody in that crosswalk. Maybe it's just me, but there's one example. But yeah, there is a gap. There's at least, well, because even everybody I've spoken to, whether they be city councilmen or current mayors or past mayors, and I've been doing this a long time. I've been hearing it a long time. Oh, it's the county. Oh, it's the county. Oh, it's the county. Come on, let's take a little bit more ownership of our city. I think we can. I think it would be common sense to kind of, get ahead of it a little bit.
So maybe Dakota, you might be able to confirm or give more input on this. With the Buxton one over here, I believe that was the developer trying to get sewer and water lines in and ripped up the road and cut those out.
Yeah, you're right about that, and nobody else noticed for a year, right? Nobody else noticed. Come on.
Well,
Every day.
I think maybe that would, a side note, but that would be also potentially something that
Of course.
recommend Public Works take a little bit.
Nobody noticed but
time
me.
on and checking out, especially on main travel roads like that. Contractors doing that work with developers, just doing it in a way that isn't going to create that mess for everybody.
I drove by there when they were fixing it the day after I saw you, and I honked, and they all looked up like, I went like, yeah, and they're all, hey, yeah, they knew.
Yeah.
Anyway, it shouldn't have ever been accepted for a week. Anyway, I've had enough. Thank you all.
Yep, thank you for
All right,
coming.
you bet. Have a nice holiday season.
You as well.
Nice to meet you.
Alrighty, just taking a peek online, we do not have any additional.
Can I,
Yeah, go ahead.
may I comment real quickly? Wish I just snagged him before we left, but so Sam had mentioned, some opportunities to be able to communicate directly with the county. I just wanted to share, because he did mention public safety, and I do know that at least through the county sheriff's office, there is that opportunity to speak directly with representatives throughout that outlet. I used to work for the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, as their Equity Inclusion Director, and I actually presented to this committee as well as the Public Safety and Equity Advisory Committee. And I do not believe that the Sheriff's Office has rehired or replaced that position, but if they do, that would be a really great opportunity for our committees to be able to speak with someone at the county. That position and other equity positions within the Sheriff's Office works in collaboration with the other departments across the county. So that would be one opportunity there for the, SAM or other concerned citizens to at least have their voices heard there. And then my second is a question. Do we know, is there a liaison that exists specifically regarding projects, improvement projects that are within the city limits of Troutdale, that's specific for that?
As far as I know, and Dakota can definitely keep me honest here, I mean, meetings happen between city staff and county and when it comes to impacts to various things. But as far as a specific position, and liaison, I don't think one exists.
No, and yes, we're aware of everything that goes on, especially if the county does within the city. I sit in a lot of different transportation-specific committees. Those are more broad strokes. We hear about the projects they're about to do. That's where that's like where I would say sometimes our director, Erica, will be more involved. She'll be, depending on the project. Most of the time, the county is talking with Public Works because they might need things from them, help with, road closures, different things like that. Yeah, the county owns it, but a lot of these big projects, I hear about them, 257, doing the ADA accessibility, because as he had mentioned, they're going around updating ADA. ADA rulings have changed, so while they looked right, they look good, there's additional requirements, that's why they have to redo them. For ones that have been, I think it was within 5 years or something like that. But we do not have a specific liaison. It just it depends on the project. And for example, certain development projects, not necessarily for transportation, in the planning staff, we get the notice to comment, we have the comments. Most of the time those are more development-based projects that are not even really relatively close to where we are, so it won't affect us. But they, as the county, are still held by the same noticing requirements as we are, depending on the project, how many feet, for the neighbors have to notice, so we have a comment. When it comes to transportation, it's just slightly different. Those are capital projects, so when they're large projects, we're aware of them, and I believe we're in the loop, but that's more of a Public Works thing than it is a planning thing. But we do not have a specific singular liaison.
If there was probably any single person that knew the most about it, Travis would probably
be it. Travis or maybe Christopher Priano, because he does a lot of our streets as well.
When we were talking about the Alton project, I was in communication with Sarah Irvin. She's the Transportation Public Information Officer, and she's the one that organized all the tour and everything. So she does a lot. She's not a liaison, but she's somebody you can talk to.
Shelby, I just was gonna say, just for information, in case you know, Public Safety Committee, Equity Advisory, we pushed back on the changes that they were doing to 257th, and we went to council with them. We did what we could because we didn't feel that it was right, the things that they were doing. They never talked about squishing, making the lanes smaller. That's what the county talked about possible crosswalks, but we brought up reasons why these wouldn't be good places. This is a freight corridor. So we did what we could pushing back. I felt like it's the county road.
And
it's their road, and if they're not gonna listen to us, I mean, we can all just complain like crazy, but there's only so much.
And the council wrote a letter to our representatives.
Yeah, oh, that's right, yeah. So, I mean, we did try to do something about 257. Now Buxton, I don't remember that being anything that we knew about at all, so I don't know. And I don't know what's happening. Are those county roads, are those in Sandy Palisades, were those?
There's a lot, so for example, Sweetbriar Road.
Oh, okay, so someplace.
If he's speaking of, like, there's a portion of Southeast Sweetbriar Road where there's a subdivision that went in as approved to the city, and they had to do significant public improvements where this is a private drive, where it meets the county road. But I can, just check real quick. I'm on our mapping system here, so. Sweetbriar Road is a county road. Everything within, let me get there first. Everything within Sandy Palisades is city. Basically, any city streets are primarily like within neighborhoods, and then main thoroughfares are county, primarily. Yeah.
To sort of transition on a bit of a positive note, one thing I will say is that the contractors executing the plan on 257, at least all of their transitions are nice and smooth and like even, unlike whoever pulled off what they did on Buxton. So at least it's not unpleasant to drive down. I mean, I will say that at least. So if there is nothing else there, we can move on to agenda item 3, review and approval of the October 1st meeting minutes. Dakota, I believe there were some edits that were sent in by Paul Wilcox.
Couple very minor edits.
It looked like pretty clerical stuff. Did everybody get a chance to review those? And are there any comments or edits that we need to? Chris?
Well, looking over it on item 3, section A, I'm wondering about the price there, because there's a comma after the 2 zeros, and that doesn't seem accurate.
Oh, should be a $10,000 grant, not a $100 grant, or whatever that looks like. Yeah, the comma might be in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because is it like 10 or 100 or?
It was, sorry to interrupt, it was 3A talking about, and actually put in there what we changed from those previous minutes. So
Correct.
that is supposed to be, that would be correct, because that would be showing.
Oh, yeah, that's, okay, yeah. So yeah, the way it's written is probably accurate then, because that was talking about the September minutes, which was then fixed.
Oh, I see, it says it's missing, yeah.
Right, that makes sense. It's not real clear there, but yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so it's supposed to be 100K then?
Well, or actually, I think it's, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at the modified September minutes.
So was this done by AI or something? Is that why it's?
No.
I don't know, it's clear. I mean, I don't know, I didn't see Paul's corrections, but I think that I motion to accept the meeting minutes needs to be inserted as amended.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if that's what.
I think it was, I'd have to
Is that what his directions are?
pull up my email.
I'm looking at them right now, so there's public comment is missing an E, or an N, sorry. And then, yeah, so under, that's number 2, public comment is missing an N. Under number 4, the last sentence, Long urges the use of incentives to help motivate community to engage. That's another one, that's all I had for the first page.
Did you have under 3A to add the word minutes?
He did not note anything.
No, I did not.
But yeah, that would.
Yeah, September 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes.
It's fine.
Page 2 is.
Committee, not commission.
That's what I was wondering about.
Yeah, probably,
I didn't think,
yeah.
I wondered what commission. I should say committee comments.
6A, PC, next week, is that public comments or someone?
Planning commission.
Planning commission.
Yeah.
That's staff shorthand.
Yeah, a lot of acronyms is what we use. It's kind of a running joke in our field. We do nothing but acronyms.
Every field.
I just remember in my last job that I thought that somebody, there was some C-level position that was like the senior director of acronyms.
That sounds about right. One of the transportation meetings I'm in, if you use an acronym when you're describing, they say it's $1 in a jar. But it's not everybody is planners in those meetings. So we have officials from nonprofits and such, so they don't know our acronyms when we're talking about large capital projects, and there's a lot of acronyms that get used, so it's
So the pizzas you can buy by the time the meeting's over.
we can buy a lot.
So exhibit A, 1A, where it says list presentations, shouldn't they be listed there instead of just,
Or that is the social media website performance report.
is it the only one?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Oh, okay.
So, I guess to further that thought, about acronyms, if people in the industry who would pay to be there don't know what it is, would the average citizen know what it would be, even if should we consider pull that out?
Yeah, and so that's something we go back and forth on quite a bit, is typically when we have an acronym, we try to write it out first, put it in parentheses, and then we continue to use that acronym for the rest of the memo. These minutes are basically shorthand minutes, so they're not always written out. That is a suggestion I can add, at least write it out once, and then it's used again, so that way we know. And also sometimes Chris Ann doesn't, so I'd have to have her, let her know when she's writing these minutes.
I do like that idea, because in the future it might be nice, I mean, just to have for all of us, like a pre-approved abbreviation list, where we have what it is and what it stands for, and then we can just keep it up on our sites.
You know, in some places there are, because like the acronyms and abbreviations for the various committees are, I believe, standardized somewhere. I know I've seen that list.
I just want to say, taking meeting minutes is really hard. I used to do it in the past, and I'm so grateful somebody's willing to do it so that one of us on this group doesn't have to. And it's different in that all of these are recorded. So if anybody really has any questions, they're always welcome to go back and find it, you know, in the meetings. So it's nice that we can get this, because it's online. They can watch it.
Yeah.
Us say whatever we say word for word now. This is just a benefit to have it summarized and written down, and I'm grateful that it's here, but I'm not super.
Alrighty, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion.
I motion that we accept the October 1st, 2025 meeting minutes as amended.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item 4, discussion items, Main Streets on Halsey Code amendment update. Dakota, what do you have for us?
All right, I'm gonna pull up the presentation. So this, for those of you who are on planning commission, you've already seen, is basically the exact same thing that Meg, our consultant, had brought to planning commission during our last work session. I'm now bringing it to you all for further feedback. I'll give you just a quick rundown of what it is before I pull the presentation. Chris?
Just to clarify, what's MIG?
MIG, MIG, it's a consulting firm that is partnering with us. We received a grant for this work, and then MIG was awarded the contract to help us. So it's, I don't know if that stands for anything. It's a consulting firm that we're working with. So they gave this presentation to Planning Commission in October. And so it's just kind of a brief background of what it is, what we've been doing so far, the feedback we've heard from the community, and then a couple questions at the end. And then also throughout this project, or throughout this presentation, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask and we'll just stop and go ahead. It's easier to do that than waiting until the end because there's some diagrams or some topics that might, at least during the planning commission, render quite a bit of conversation. So that's what we want to have here as well, because this is community engagement, and then that way you all can help spread the word on this, and if there's any feedback to have them, please come talk to me, and I'll get more into our community engagement in just a moment. Okay. Okay. There it goes. Okay, so a little bit of background. So we met with Planning Commission in June and then again in October to receive feedback as we began and continue this project. When we met with Planning Commission in June, it was to discuss the previous project. So again, a little bit further deeper background. This is kind of a follow-up to a project that was from 2017 that we finally wrapped up last year. It was a project that was done between the three cities, Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale, to come up with some some design standards for the Halsey Street corridor. Ultimately, what we heard from Planning Commission during the process of that previous project was that we didn't feel that it took Troutdale's opinion. It was more of the other two cities. So we opted not to approve the code package that was submitted. But during that process, we did hear from Planning Commission that there was a lot of good things in there, but they needed to be refined to make it more Troutdale centric. So we went out, got a grant for this project that I'm leading, along with the assistance of MIG, to develop code concepts for the Halsey Street corridor, specifically design standards. In my personal opinion, the hope is to bring that small town feel, that downtown across 257th and then along Halsey. If you remember back in August, we discussed, we were tabling it first Friday in September, and I had some some boards that we had discussed. I took your feedback and went to first Friday, and I'll show some results of that here in just a second. So at the beginning, after we spoke with Planning Commission, that was our meeting in June. In October, we went back based on the feedback we heard through some community engagement, and after deeper looking into the code and feedback from Planning Commission in that June, and they brought back a presentation, which is basically what I'm showing you here, and presented it to Planning Commission to get further feedback as we continue to draft this code amendment. MIG evaluated Troutdale's code, the previous code amendments, and prepared current code concepts. And then we tabled the first Friday event in September. Okay, so this is the Halsey Street corridor. Specifically what we're looking at is segment 3, that's within Troutdale. So there's just a map kind of showing what the corridor is. This is our timeline. So we're kind of down in this area here. We are working on the initial draft code updates. We have some concepts out right now. I met with MIG last week, and they're currently working on some code graphics, and then to have an actual code amendment kind of package that we can bring back to Planning Commission to review and see if there's any changes that we want before we kind of come forward with a full package that then would go ultimately to Planning Commission for initiation and City Council for adoption. What we're kind of calling this now, which is a working name, we're not sure, for our code would be kind of the gateway overlay. So that's just kind of a term that we're throwing around right now. So this would be an overlay to base zone standards. It's an addition to, similar to how our downtown is right now.
So basically it would be, you have where the town center overlay is now, it would be sort of a ancillary to that?
Yeah, it'd be basically just across 257 and continue, which is still within the town center. So there's going to be some overlap there. So we want to have those align and then add things that won't affect the downtown, but everything west of 257.
So when we're talking about overlay, I'm looking at my little map here. So the overlay of town center, but then also Old Town is a map outline, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what you're talking about here is really just the businesses along Halsey.
Yeah.
It doesn't go any further past that first layer.
Correct. It's just along the Halsey corridor.
Just along Halsey, all right?
Yeah, compared to, yes, the downtown, like that affects properties up on 5th Street, the downtown overlay. This would just be everything on, like if you're using downtown for example, everything right on historic Clemmer River Drive, sort of thing. Of course, it's not going to affect those properties, but that's just an example. It's not going to extend deeper.
And there was, at Planning Commission, there was even some discussion as to whether or not, these design standards would go all the way down Halsey, i.e. is it going to include Edgefield? So, that's not a guarantee.
And we'll get there. Because like I said, you see this presentation before, so you know.
Can I ask real quickly?
Yep.
As we go into like what you heard, those 2 community engagement events that were on that, when did those take place and how many public comments did you get?
So the first one, we've really, one's kind of just ongoing, it's our website for feedback. I'm currently updating it right now. And then we're working to see if we receive any feedback, but I'm working on updating the website. And then hoping that the website, I want to add a little comment box if that's possible, because no one really calls me or emails me. I have received one email from someone, and someone did come to Planning Commission with a comment. And then we're also continuing, which I'll get to this again a little later, so you'll just see an update. I'm working on a mailer right now, but I want to update the website before I send out the mailer to all the properties along 257 or along Halsey. And then there's a couple of larger businesses that I would like to contact. I believe our director has the contact. So we would like to, I want to reach out and then just have a couple of quick questions. And I would love, after this presentation, if you have any questions you think would be good for me to ask businesses along the corridor. I'm going to write those down. So I just want to have it's a really quick interview, but I just want to ask them a couple of questions, get their feedback, and that's kind of more our ongoing. So the one major event was First Friday. And then the rest is just kind of like ongoing. Please reach out. That's why I'm also CAC is a big, hearing your thoughts and input is something that I will always take back and write up in minutes and submit so we can have that help shape how this looks. Because you're not just committee members, you're also citizens of the city.
Thank you.
So what we've heard so far is make sure the process and the outcomes reflect the Troutdale community's unique values and goals. Ensure that allowed building heights are consistent with desired community character in Troutdale. Consider whether and how standards should apply to development in portions of the corridor owned by McMinimans, and develop standards that will attract Troutdale community members to visit the corridor. So here's our list of current and ongoing community engagement efforts, our project website. As I mentioned, I'm working on updating that right now. Hopefully I'll get that updated by next week. Again, not sure if I'll be able to add, that's a technical question I have for one of our members, see if I can add a comment box. I just think that would be easier to receive input than asking people to call me or email me, because I just don't get that much feedback all the time. Tabling events, we tabled First Friday. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go more than that by the time we got all the work done. Planning Commission work sessions, coming to CAC, we discussed the boards the first time, coming back again to receive feedback now. And then the mailer I mentioned, sending out to all the property owners and hoping that they would send feedback. The issue with the mailer, most people when they receive them, they throw them out. That's something I've realized. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get that feedback from those citizens that live and business owners that live and work on the corridor. So any ideas, all ears. That's the hardest part of our job doing a project like this is community engagement. So during the community engagement effort at the First Friday, we asked a couple of questions, and these are some ones that really stood out. You'll notice there's kind of a discrepancy in the numbers, because not everybody filled out everything that I had, but what they did, we were able to take that data. So the first one is, how do you feel about increasing allowable building height in certain areas of the town center? And we say town center because the town center extends over there. It's not going to affect the downtown. I want to make that very clear. This is not downtown. This is everything west of 257, not east. So out of that, we received 4 people in support and 1 in opposition. The other question we had is, are you more likely to support increasing building height if a step back is required above a certain height, for example, 35 feet, which is our maximum building height right now? We had 9 people in support and 1 in opposition. And a step back being, once the building comes up, I'll get into this a little bit later, it comes up 35 feet, then the building facade, the front, is required to go back and then step up again, if it wanted to increase above that. So we received more support than I think what we were expecting initially. And the whole reason for the step back idea is to allow for more height, but also it doesn't make the corridor feel closed in. It opens it up still. So it's not like a skyscraper feeling, because it still opens up. And all you'll see at the ground level in street view is that really that height of that 35 feet, which is what the current standard is. We also asked participants what they would prioritize out of certain amenities. We had the top 3 were pedestrian plazas for 8 votes, outdoor seating for 7 votes, and then public art or murals for 5 votes. Other valued features included weather protection, exterior lighting, large ground-to-floor windows or ground-to-ceiling windows, and enhanced architecture. We also received 1 written comment that emphasized the importance of design standards to ensure quality materials, natural aesthetics, and a look consistent with the downtown. So now we're getting into our code concepts. So for building height, within the updated overlay district, we're contemplating allowing a maximum height for commercial mixed-use development to be 45 feet, which is 10 feet higher than the current standard. And increased to no more than 55 feet if certain amenities are provided, including ground floor commercial, at least 5 of 8 listed design elements. So what that means is, in a lot of our design standards currently in our code, for example, if you want to build an ADU, there's a list of 10 design standards, you have to pick 6 in order to be approvable. So this is a similar style list, is we'll have design standards, they have to pick 5 out of 8, and they have to do those if they want to be approved. If they have 4, it's not approvable, because they don't meet the design standard requirement. And then building step back of X amount of feet for each floor that the building height goes up. So above 35 or 45 feet. And this is kind of an example of what a step back will look like in just like a cartoony kind of way. So say this here is 35 feet, steps back, and then goes up another floor.
For reference, the newer apartments that are on Halsey, how tall are those ones?
The Fox Ridge,
I believe that's.
so those received a variance to go up to 45 feet
So that is 45 from street level.
from street level.
So we have code concepts, but then we also allow variances to go around them.
So, for example, the variances are very specific. They need to be, you have a unique lot or a situation that's causing you to be unable to build on it. Topography is the biggest one, and that's what the use was for the Fox Ridge, is the topography is on a very steep slope, so they couldn't really build. It would be awkward. It would be like a slope down towards the street. So they requested a variance, so they had an extra ground floor where they dug into the hill a little bit and built up, and then they have the rest of the buildings behind aren't as tall. So they keep it at a consistent height. So there's variances, you can't just request a variance to anything, there has to be very specific criteria you need to meet. Trust me, a lot of people do request variances all the time, just because they want to build something. It doesn't happen that way. So in this sense, we want to be able to increase the height a little bit, but also still make it appealing, and so that both incentivizes development while also keeping the feel not as skyscraper or tall building, massive buildings. That's the idea, that's the concept behind this section here.
What is the height of the apartment buildings near LA Fitness in Gresham?
I'm not sure of those. I haven't been out there enough.
Does anybody know how many stories there are? No, okay, yeah.
Are they ground floor commercials at all apartment?
No, it's all apartment. Yeah, it's all
How
apartment.
about a subway shop, or like, I'm thinking about the same ones.
I think that there is ground floor.
Is there?
commercial, And I think I remember possibly somebody in, town center meeting saying they're having a really difficult time filling the commercial departments, of course.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how tall they were, because it just does feel like.
We're talking of the ones that are north of the tracks.
Mhm.
Those ones are, I think, taller than the ones that were, the Hero Shop is, the subway.
Yeah,
Cross streets again?
Near LA Fitness, across from it, it's
Down the street.
the newer apartments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there are two different fields there.
Yeah, there is,
That's
there's
groups,
two
yeah.
different fields. And then, what is the setback, currently for, sidewalk for these buildings?
I have to check my, I think it's in the MU2 zone, so I think it depends on development, is what the setback is. I think it's 10 feet, but if it's like, if you're building townhomes, it's deeper. But I'm trying to remember, because I think it's pretty short, or pretty short setback, but I'd have to double check that code.
Okay. And then also,
I want to say 10 feet.
And then this might not be the right place to talk about that, but if it's gonna be like downtown Troutdale, is it gonna have the same parking along the by the sidewalk?
So that is something that is currently going on. So we're working on the main streets of Halsey design standards, and there's another project for the streetscape.
Okay.
And so that is in a combination with, obviously the 3 cities, and then also with the county. The concept is approved, now it's about funding, and what they want to do is, because there's quite a bit of right-of-way along Halsey, on either side for the county. And they want to be able to put in, and it's going to change as it goes down Halsey. It's not all just one consistent style, but some styles are basically you have a planter strip, bike strip, and then sidewalks with either parking in the middle lane or parking on the sides, and it changes, like I said, it varies as it goes on throughout Halsey, but that's a whole other project. So there will be some parking, street parking along Halsey in this section.
If I remember correctly, the streetscapes design was quite a bit less controversial.
Yeah, that was pretty smooth. It's just a lot of planning into it.
What about, when we're talking about the parking situation, I think of the bus stops as well, because I think there are a couple of bus stops. And are we gonna notch them out to get the buses out of traffic, or how's that gonna work?
I have to review the plan again, but those are taken in. There's some bump outs. There's also, what's it called? Certain turn lane only for bus, relay lights. I can't remember exactly what the term is for it, for bus so they turn a little quicker when there's a bus there, they stay in or they stop when a bus comes in, so traffic has to stop. So that's all part of the plan. And that's strictly for the street. And again, there's quite a bit. Like if you think about Halsey, specifically if you think about Halsey, say around McMinimans area, it's pretty narrow, right? It actually goes in 50 feet each direction. That's how much right of way the county has to build. That's all public right of way. So it's about 100 feet across, which is significant compared to what's currently there now. So if we ever get funding for this capital project between all the cities and stuff, which we're working on, it'll be a massive, crazy improvement to the Halsey corridor. It would be pretty incredible to get, if it looks like what those streetscapes do, it'd be pretty great.
And then there's also school bus stops, which they stop at different places in the public transportation. But yeah, there's lots of young children running around there. Drop them off, pick them up, so.
Yeah, school buses have it a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but is the right word. But since that's a state requirement to stop whenever bus stop stops in both directions, they're thought about, but they're not you don't have to plan for them as much. Because that's a state requirement, that's a law that you have to, that's a traffic law. Compared to transit.
How does that work if you got planters, right? So if you is the bus gonna come off on the other side of the planter, or is it gonna be on this side of the planter? And if there's a center median, then do you still have to stop even though there's a median in the middle of the road?
Yeah, the answer is yes, and the other answer is the planters, the whole thing is having a buffer between ped and car, vehicle.
Okay.
So that's why there's a planter in between there. That's including bikes won't be on the roadway side, they'll be on the pedestrian side.
Okay.
Which you see a lot more, that's happening a lot more because you're realizing it's significantly safer with trees and shrubs. And of course, where there's those pickups, you'll have a little walkway, so you're not having to walk through the bushes to get to your bus stop. This is another code concept, which is frontage and orientation. So to create a frontage and building orientation requirements, require buildings to front a minimum percentage of the front of the property, so that way they're not set super far, super deep. Limit the percentage of frontage that can be occupied by parking area. Ideally, what we would like is having tucked behind parking, or if, say, you were to build a commercial, mixed-use commercial ground floor, front is commercial, and then apartments above. One of the incentives could be that you have tuck under parking in the rear. So you drive in, come around, you park behind those commercial businesses, but that's an incentive to go up an extra floor. That's an idea that we're also looking at. And then perimeter landscaping standards also can be used to soften the edge and visually screen parking areas. So that's kind of this area over here, to where any sort of parking area that isn't behind has to be buffered by landscaping. So this, and the concept here, and these aren't exact to our code. This is just a diagram that they were able to pull up, kind of depicting it. So these don't hold on to that 10 there. But so the concept is that we would have we want to have indents in different facade. So that way it's not just one solid building, but we do want to have that building up to the setback and not push in the back portion of the property. Because we want to have that more, we want to have it appealing for pedestrian access rather than park a car in front of the building and then we want the parking to be in the rear. And then the building being more pedestrian friendly, being able to walk in and out of from the street rather than just parking and being able to walk right in. And then bulk and massing. Incorporate bulk mass requirements. So a maximum building height, for example, is I don't know why we have 150. But, so this is, again, another diagram. You wanna have articulation, that's what I mentioned about, so the facade has different depth requirements after so many linear feet. Say it's 50 feet wide, then you have to bump in by 2 feet for, say, 15 feet, and then you can come back out and continue. So it's not just one large flat building. Say you have a 200-foot long frontage, you don't just have a 200-foot wall. You have some depth difference there, and that can be where an entryway is, that can be a little grass area, that could be like a little seating area, it could be maybe, depending on who builds it, can build it if that's an area where there's a bus stop, that can be an additional seating area right in there. But that's to kind of offset the building so it adds more character instead of just having a flat building. And you see that in our downtown right now. We don't have just flat buildings, we have depth requirements. That's a requirement we currently have in our downtown. You can't just build a flat wall for the length of the parcel.
Go to this Woodrow. So between this, the previous slide, where do like outdoor awnings and eating and sitting and eating, sorry, but where would that kind of fit in? And is that something we want to incentivize as well?
Yeah. So for example, say the setback is 10 feet, right? That's where you can have your eating, because this is the sidewalk. So you can have your outdoor eating areas right in the setback area because you're not in the public right of way. Currently, our downtown, there is the setback, I think it's a 0 setback. So the building comes right up to the public right of way, which is the sidewalk. There are areas that indent, and that's where there can be outdoor seating. Anybody in our downtown that has, you're not allowed to have, tables and chairs and umbrellas, you're not allowed to have them on the sidewalk because that impedes ADA accessibility. So we want to be able to have it to whatever the setback is, then that can be the area for outdoor. Or, for example, over here, depending on how someone designs, proposes to design a building, this could be like a little plaza area with tables and chairs that's maybe community seating for the businesses that are down on the ground floor here. And this is just another depiction of the kind of step back model of an idea. Say it goes up. Again, these aren't numbers from our code. This isn't what we're proposing. It's just a good diagram to show how things step back over a certain time.
And the step back, can those also be outdoor eating and drinking areas? Is there any code restrictions or?
That's all permitted within the code. And ideally, so say it's ground floor commercial and upper area is residential, right? They want to go on extra floors. They want it to be 45 feet. But that means you have to step back. Well, that step back area can now be an outdoor barbecue area that's community space for the apartment complex. That could be, it could be like a green roof area where people can go out and relax and hang out, and that's an amenity that the apartment complex has. Now again, this all comes up to whatever developer wants to design it, but we're trying to require developers to think that way, because that's what we would like to see. If you're, you're not just gonna be able to build an apartment complex with walls that go all the way up. Because we want you to be able to think outside the box, make it more visually appealing. If you want to build in Troutdale, you have to follow these rules. Make it visually appealing, but without completely handcuffing them to one idea. We want to give them the incentive, and that's where that height increase comes up. Because then they're not losing out on any income from lost revenue from lost rentals.
Quick question. Are these standards that you're suggesting, are they different than Fairview's or Wood Villages at this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't looked at Fairview and
Okay.
Village. So
Troutdale's doing Troutdale.
Troutdale's doing Troutdale.
Okay.
Yeah, these are concepts that, it's a mixture of what we had done when we had Cascadia Partners with the first round. They did some good work, but it didn't really feel like it was us. So we wanted to take some concepts they had and then really bring them to the public, really hear what they have to say, tweak them. Because for example, how I was talking about that list of amenities that you have to, if you pick 5 out of 8, you can do it. They had a different point system we don't have anything like that in our code. It's very confusing. It's hard for me to understand. It'd be very difficult for a developer to understand. So we wanted to get rid of it, make it match our code, make it match what we're hearing, and try to still have the concepts that we were kicking around and the incentives, but make them our own incentives instead of just going with a blanket approach. And there are other cities that have done similar things. Because no one ever reinvents the wheel completely, but it's a great way to take that tool and then twist it, change it to make it ours. And that's why we really want to have the public feedback, because if we were to move forward with these and we were to go and it's approved and the public hates it, that doesn't do us any good. Because then it's just, that's higher up telling the public what they want, and no one likes that. So we really, really want to get the public input. Because if it's a hard no across the board, then we'll have to scratch it and go back to the beginning. But so far, we've heard pretty good feedback with how we're thinking of this process.
Thanks. Question, what is your timeline like for you to kind of end the public comment and for you to feel confident to be able to then push forward this proposal?
Ideally, we will be going to Planning Commission for introduction of the code amendment in February.
That's soon. And if I'm not mistaken, the amount of public comment you've gotten was just what you referred to on the last couple slides, so less than 20 people. I'm a little worried about the timeline, to be honest.
We've been doing this since February.
Of last year. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've been asking for public comment, and we just haven't. That's when we first got the ball rolling with the contracts and stuff. Really hitting the ground running was April, May, and then we just the hard thing, and this might just be me now just talking, but in my position, the hardest thing as a planner is to receive public comment.
Yeah.
What people really love to do is wait until it's too late, and then we hear about it. And it's like, we were asking for your opinion, you wanted to hear it, and now we're hearing about it after the fact. And that's not talking about just large problems, that happens with day-to-day development. We get a comment, hey, this is being built, what's going on here, I don't like that. You received a notice in the mail to comment, and we didn't hear from you. And if we did, that would be a great thing to say. Like, we have to, that's our requirement to respond, whether or not, oh, that's a good point. They can appeal it, but most of the time it's just we hear too late. And that's why we've been really pushing for public comment, trying to hear, and a lot of people are like, well, I didn't hear about it. And that's kind of the hard part is because what's also not in there is we put a notice in the newspaper about it, and in our local newspaper, asking for people to respond. I know a lot of people read that, never received a single email or phone call or comment or anything. So it's just really difficult. I'm really trying to spam everything and just try to see what comes up. That's why I'm hoping maybe that comment box on the webpage. But even then, not many people go to that webpage to look at our active projects and things like that, to see what kind of projects we're currently working on.
Yeah, I fully acknowledge how hard it is for sure.
And that's why I'm hoping with the mailer, because that will we're gonna get that to the people who are directly the most impacted, that live down there. But again, will we receive some? Probably some. At Planning Commission, I think we had a member that lived somewhere across the city who came to have a comment about it. I said, great, that's wonderful, thank you, and that is why I'm gonna take extra steps on my public engagement. So we're working on it. I understand, because I'm right there with you. I haven't received nearly enough, in my opinion. Not as much as I'd like. And it's hard for a grant manager to look at what we're doing and see that there isn't a whole lot of public comment or community engagement. All I can show is what I've done. And so, because there is requirements for the grant that I have to receive. I have to do these public, I have an engagement plan. It's just we just haven't heard a whole lot of that.
So from us as a committee, we have from December until January to be able to come up with strategies and things to be able to increase that opportunity.
I think spreading the word would be great too. Like I said, there is a webpage. So if y'all can talk to people, if you see people and they're asking what's going on in Troutdale, check out this webpage for info, and hopefully by that point I'll have a comment box up.
What's the webpage?
It's under our active projects list, so it's where we have our, where you find stuff about the Chalk Trail and all of our current large projects.
Where are you with, or is Erica with, finding out if we're allowed or how we can incentivize people?
I have to ask her, because that's now,
I know she was looking into that.
that's been in her court. I know she's been really busy, but I'm not sure. I'll have to ask her about it, because I know that was, after that meeting, she said she was gonna be looking into that.
Definitely want to applaud that effort so far, but maybe in, I guess thing like for myself, instead of words, people, myself included, are more visually inclined to be like, oh, that's interesting, what is that we're looking at? Instead of, we're hoping to make changes in the future, we're gonna be looking at this. Hey, here's Shrek board, or some examples of what some of these buildings that would fit this code, and having a little bit more interactive and engaging way for people to want to be like, oh wow, that means it's gonna look like LA Fitness or whatever. Like, yeah, I really like that. That's gonna be sharp. Or no, I don't really like that. But I think maybe as far as the outreach goes and the engagement, people actually saw like, hey, the minimum's right here. They could build this if they want. Be cool with that. Like those sort of abilities, so that it's more hands-on and approachable.
And that, yeah, I completely agree, and that's what I noticed, I remember you having similar feedback for the First Friday board, so I did that, I had some printouts, which was very helpful, being able to describe and explain the concepts, because it is hard to, I'm in it every day, so and also it's kind of a vision that I've been hoping to try to build off of, so I know this project in and out, but when I'm just trying to describe it to people, no one understands what I mean, because I have setback and step back. Those can get really easily mixed up, and trying to have so I think I had pictures similar to this on there, and that was really easy to show, this is what we're thinking, and then also having a current visual, we were right across the street from the clock tower, so it's like, that is X amount of feet, that's what we'd be here, and then we want to, increase this, and actually the clock tower is a little bit taller than the 35 feet, so that was nice to kind of get a visual, like here's what everything is in town, this is what would be higher, now imagine that. So on the website, I want to add some graphics when I update it. I'm not just like updating with a comment box. I want to update with some graphics and maybe just a PowerPoint people can click on. Similar to this, it would probably be actually pretty similar to this, but without all the text heavy stuff. This is more to receive feedback, more of like, hey, here's some, mainly the code concepts, because that kind of describes it a little bit easier. And I'd like to add a presentation on there just so you can click through and get to it and see if that's easier. On the mailer, I'm going to have a QR code directly to the web page because that's easier rather than trying to search through and find. Being able to just go right to the web page is a little bit easier. So hopefully that'll spur some comment. Just yet, haven't received it yet. So I have ideas. I just have to actually get it done now. So I've been working on this the mailer part for a better part of a month, and that part's easy. That was written really quickly, but now it's just coordinating with both Chris and our other member to get it updated, and then also having other projects mixed in. So it's just sometimes it gets kicked to the back burner, and then I bring it back up. It's like, man, I've waited too long to get this. I gotta get this. I waited 2 more weeks than I wanted to. I gotta work on getting it out, and then I have another project that comes up.
I'm sorry. So this weekend is the Windy Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be an opportunity to present visually this and try and get more public comment during this weekend event?
I didn't plan for that, but I can see if there's a chance for me to do that with Marley. I can ask her. I'm not sure if the spaces are filled or not. We weren't initially planning on it, but I think it's because it wasn't on my radar until a little too late. I didn't realize it was this weekend. I thought it was next until Marley told us in our meeting on Monday.
Time is flying, huh?
Everything with the holidays, I think just gets really weird.
I guess having a little bit of a sales background and also seeing the different banners and whatnot. And my thought is that if we worked as hard as the politicians did to get elected, or somebody tried to sell me new windows for my house with their mailers, are we sending a postcard that has a visual on the outside that says, Main Street on Halsey, here's the key things that you might want to be interested about your property. That went here and said, oh, it's from the city, I'm just gonna jump out, well, what's this thing, you know? And, you know, I don't know, I guess, just looking for ways to increase that engagement and those hits, I guess. You know, you're trying to cast a net, what does our net look like? And, you know, is it something that's gonna be attention grabbing and to want to hit that QR code? Or is it gonna be in the official City of Troutdale, you know, the yellow kind of ivory envelope sort of thing, and, you know, like, what does that look like? And maybe consider there's ability to include things that would be engaging, you know, like those visuals.
Initially, it was just a classic letter.
Yeah.
And then I saw what Erica had done with the parks that you helped pass out all those like postcard-sized pamphlets that look a lot better because they have at least a rendering or something like that. So I've edited the idea because that is at least a little bit more grabbing to at least look at it for a second rather than like, it's not a water bill, goes in the garbage.
Yeah, it's a stupid idea, but I'll spit it out there anyway. Is, you know, when you get the flyer that has windows on it, you know you don't want windows, it's gone. When you get a flyer that has something on it that you're not, you know, you don't know what it is, you know, you need to fix it. So I'm thinking, go the other way, like as a politician. Like, hi, I'm Dakota, I'm the planner for Troutdale, and I'm here to talk to you about this change that impacts your property. And a big smiling picture of you. Because it's like, okay, there's a guy here, he wants something from me, right? He wants information, he has questions for me, and I click on the QR code and I can answer his questions. I don't know, like I said, it's a stupid idea.
There's no such thing as a stupid idea. That might actually work. I mean, you see billboards like that all the time.
I'll throw in mine because I had written it down. A map of the area so they could see that their property's included in it. And then on that envelope also say public comment for your developing area is wanted by a certain date. Okay? Because that way they have the map and they go, oh, that's me. Oh my gosh, because they could see it. And, you know, when they're included in that, they're saying, okay, this is your opportunity. If you don't give it, then you don't give it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I like that, yeah.
If you really want to get people, this process could affect the value of your property. I guarantee.
Yeah.
Oh, what? I mean, it could be for the positive, really.
Yeah.
Very much could be.
It should be. Yeah. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Do we know how many property owners are affected?
Not off the top of my head. I have a mailing
Like
list.
100?
Yeah, over 100. Yeah, parcels that are technically.
So if we tell Frank that they're on a park or on a trail, load up his little trailer.
I'll get you out there. Okay, we're going to move on. The next thing is building design. So a few changes from the original code amendments, but based on what we had heard, allow developments to pick from a set of elements rather than a point system, which is what was currently proposed. Additional design elements should be elevated to ensure that they are consistent with the character and desired outcomes for the code update. i.e., if we have outdoor seating, that was one. I had them listed out. Windows, things that match are similar to what we have downtown. That's the idea. That's ideally what the goal is, and we want them to. Okay, here are we'll pick this one, like an outdoor plaza, outdoor seating, and this other one will be ground floor windows in the commercial area. Cool, and that's great. Because we want to have that in the or additional lighting to where lighting, especially during our long winter months here, So I think that's something that would be that we'd like to add to our code concepts as well. Just make it more amenity forward, to make it more appealing for pedestrians, more inviting. For the goal is we have these code concepts mixed with that streetscape. We're hoping we're gonna have a lot more bike and ped traffic along the corridor. And we want to then make the buildings more appealing because then that spurs business. The foot traffic is what spurs business. It's not really the drivability, it's the foot traffic. You want to park one place and then be able to go to a couple different places. If you want, you can walk down that block and maybe go into a little store, go and grab a coffee. Okay, there's a game on, let's go into this place, type deal. So we want to have some design elements that they can choose from. So the geographic scope, so again, this is the corridor. Realistically, all this is residential, and it's already currently developed. So really, while the overlay could encompass this, and then this is all Edgefield. Really, what we're talking about is more or less this section here, the MU1 and MU2 zones. While with that, after some discussion, we're opting maybe to leave Edgefield out at the moment, but the reason being is we can always add the overlay to this section. It's really easy to do. That doesn't take much effort, because then as long as the design standards are there, the issue is we don't necessarily want to handicap Edgefield from what they do best, because we don't want to put them in a box. Well, we have requirements, they already offer a lot of these types of amenities, so we don't want to then be like, oh, if you're going to do something really cool with this great design, it's not approvable because you didn't have this one kickback here on the building facade. So that's why right now I think we're opting on leaving them out. I think that's what we had discussed.
That sounds
And again, we've gone back and forth on this part a lot about Edgefield. Part of me is like, no, we should make Edgefield conform to what the city wants. But at the same time, Edgefield's been a great partner with the city. They do a great thing, they bring in a ton of business. We want Edgefield to be Edgefield, because they do something really, really well. So.
Yes, leaving Edgefield out of it, will that impact the street portion?
No, the street portion's for the
Okay.
entirety. And actually, the Edgefield section is the most important.
Yes.
Because that's where the street's really narrow. I'm not sure if anybody's ever noticed the bus stop there. You're basically on the edge of the 10-foot cliff and into Blackberries. So that streetscape is the most important. That is definitely
It's so
definitely part
dangerous
of it.
walking the concerts there.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, it's dark. So I think now the design is, because since it's built up there for the streetscape, they're not going to extend it. The public area, the pet area is going to drop down
Oh, that'd be so nice.
and go along the road. So you're not up on the road where all the busy traffic is, you're down in the field area with lighting and such.
Alright, so you're talking about the overlay impacting the lilac.
Mm-hmm.
So how many property owners are there? You said there's 100?
That's if we were talking about the whole corridor.
Okay, but
So-
so the purple ones, how many property owners are there?
About maybe less than 50.
Dude, I can go knock on doors for 50.
I believe it's less, that's why I'll be calling them first and trying to get them on the phone. Because the hard part is while they're property owners, the property owners aren't always there. It's usually
some of
an
that's
employee.
vacant lot, right?
Some of these are vacant, yeah. And that's also the thing is, can't knock on a vacant lot. But that's why calling those property owners is a little easier than door knocking, especially the businesses that are there. Owner's not always there, the property, it's a rental, business is there. It's going to be easier. I have contacts for I think a good chunk of them.
And we're not gonna do the ones on the other side of the old highway, right? In between.
No.
And what about the ones that go all the way up to, is it 287?
257th there.
Is it gonna go the full width between,
I mean, are you talking about like this one here, for
Yeah.
example? I mean, that's a property that fronts.
It goes
So
all
if
along.
they were to do frontage, anything here, we'd want them to follow these standards.
is there, no, the highway, or ODOT is on the other side.
Yeah, ODOT owns, it's somewhere, I think it's this corner, no, it's the gas station.
Gas station.
It's one of these over here, I think it's one next to it. I think it's one of these.
And they're not gonna do anything with that, right?
There's storage across the street.
The goal is, I mean, the hope, and that's the thing, is while we're doing these, This isn't like a capital project where then we're gonna now hit the ground running and we're gonna start building. It's still just up to whoever develops.
Right.
So that's the hard part when it comes to the concept is we get this approved, we have an overlay added to our code. Doesn't mean anything's gonna happen next year, doesn't mean anything's gonna happen in 5 years. Just matters that when it does, they have to meet these standards. The one that always comes to my mind is the vacant property at the corner of 257 and Halsey. It's a great property. Owner isn't trying to sell anytime soon. They're not trying to develop it right now. But when they do, something really cool could go in there based on these design standards. And really, that's where you're really gonna tie the downtown across. So I think it's really important that whatever is done on that corner is done really well with great standards, because that's gonna be that initial tie across 257 from downtown. We just have to, I mean, ideally, it'd be great if, the city had a bunch of money, we could just buy up these properties and then develop how we wanted to, but that's just not the case.
Yeah, I guess just in my opinion, I feel like it would be prudent to put some sort of overlay onto it. And it's not because I don't trust them, but what I don't trust is change. And when things change, that trust is gone. And I suppose in worst case scenario situation, if Vinneman Brothers decide they're gonna retire, they're getting old, don't wanna do it anymore, they sell to venture capitalists, whatever, all this is happening without the city knowing, it's signed, closed, and the next morning at 8 a.m. they're in your office with a general, with a development plan that now the city has to accept. And then that trust we had in there ruins the entire Halsey street, and it only goes to, well, basically the purple shaded, and that's all this has been for, it's just the purple shaded area. And is it even worth it, to go out to this if we're willing to risk the crown jewel being something different? And so I would suggest that planning commission think out of the box a little bit more and talk with the attorney to figure out a way to put another overlay on there that is the Edgefield overlay. Do it in a legal way that it's not we're pointing you out, but we're actually giving you this little asterisk in this, and it could be the same overlay we're doing over the whole thing, with an asterisk that says that Minimans has the right to come in with something cool and we can talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
That way it's in there. I don't know if you can legally argue this, you have to get the lawyers involved. But at least that crown jewel is protected with them, with the trust being that when you guys bring us something cool, trust that we are going to listen and we'll give you the trust. But we trust you brothers, you guys are cool, you're getting older, What's gonna happen? What's the succession plan? What does the next step look like? We have no control over that. So that piece being said, and she all this with it.
That is something that we kicked around as like an Edgefield clause type thing. Don't know exactly how that would work again legally. If that would work, it'd have to be written in there with the exception of so and so. But that is something that we've been still kicked around. I know we've discussed with planning commission about that. I think that came up with planning commission as well. That exact same thought.
I think it would be wise for us to do that, not just leave that hanging out there with a handshake these days.
Fair.
Enough said.
Shelby, so the existing properties, like the storage units, it's only if they go to redevelop. Otherwise, they can be there's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If they needed to expand and add something, they would then have to do it under that.
Yeah, for existing properties, they would be, if say this were to go all the way through the planning or city council and gets approved, existing structures and properties, they are grandfathered in as long as they continue that use. If they were to change and say like, yeah, we need to, we're gonna demo this, or, so for example, if it's the storage place. Person sells, that's fine, new person buys it, they're still able to operate that business without any changes. If someone buys it and they're like, no, I wanna do something different here, well now you have to meet the current standard. So anything that's existing would be grandfathered in until it were to change. Then it has to meet the current standards. So that's kind of where, and then any new development, so anything new from the point of when this is approved, say if it's approved, forward, then it has to be built.
So even if they just had to make some minor, I don't know, the office is too small, we need another 10 feet out, we're gonna build out and add on that, then because they're adding some construction, they would then not.
As if the use remains the same, then they would be able to do it without having to meet the
Okay, that's what I hate to tie up property owners, but I also believe it's
Yeah.
nice to have.
Because that way you don't have something that's drastically different as like they're adding on, say 1,000 square feet. That 1,000 square feet looks now different than the other one, it looks like it doesn't match. That's why we allow them to go into the standards that was built. But if the use changes, if it's a storage facility, then they want to come in like, no, we want to do, which is not possible there, it's not permitted in that zone, but we want to do like a car sales. No, you have to meet the current standards. Again, that's not even permitted in that zone, that's just an example of a change of use. Where it's like, oh, the infrastructure's here, the building's here. It's like, well, now you need to meet current standards. Because the use is no longer, it's no longer grandfathered.
And the same would apply then also if it were vacant if the business were like unoccupied or something for a certain period of time too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the issue that we ran into with that daycare.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and it's a period of 1 year, 1 day. All right, and now we have some discussion questions. So these are just a couple questions I wanted to get your all feedback on. Are the revised standards more aligned with the community's vision on the policy corridor? What other types of standards or requirements are needed? And then thoughts on the overall concepts. This is just open discussion. So, anybody has a thought? And you don't have to have a thought, but if you do.
I do have just a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think on slide 2 or 3, you had mentioned pedestrian plaza. Yes. So can you just talk a little bit more about that and perhaps an example of one we have already?
Mayor Square is kind of an example of a pedestrian plaza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then I just wanted to also add, I love the idea of those planners and what they do, helping filter the water and runoff and everything. So I'm hoping, is that the same idea with planners and just putting some?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that's actually completely different, but that is an idea that's really growing a lot of traction too. With storm catchment, so that's more of a public works thing that they're changing. When I was at the OAPA conference in Bend this year, I went to a talk by Gresham Public Works, and they're doing really cool where they're taking that concept, but instead of having where they drain into, like an area, they're putting trees that are set below grade underneath, so you're no longer going to have sidewalk lift. So they're setting them down where then they're fed by all the water runoff, and they have specific trees that are resilient with specific rock that filters really well, so the roots can go through, you'll never get soil lift, and it's also creates a good barrier, because when you have, most of the time you see them, they're kind of marsh kind of grasses and plants in there. Well, a car can still go up and over that, say it careens off course. Trees are a good barrier to stop cars.
Yeah.
The issue is you have to replace the trees, but it's a lot better than, potential life. So that's a concept that's really gaining traction. So that talk was really interesting because Gresham's coming up with a kind of a concept that the other cities are now taking. And I know our city's looked into that as well, about the usage and things like that. And then again, that's on a developer to, that's, hey, if you want to do it here, you have to do this or this. Here you go.
One of the things, yeah. That's great, thank you.
Yep. That's great. I think that's more appealing.
want to say I love this direction. I just love where you're going. I love these ideas. I think it is more in alignment with our community's values and goals. And so I'd love to add a couple more ideas to help even emphasize that more. Kind of piggybacking off of that idea of utilizing natural water and runoff, things like that. I would love for us to more strongly embed in this a priority to enhance our environmental stewardship, goals, like ensure that we're not allowing new businesses or landscaping to do invasive planting, that we want to emphasize native plants. We want to ensure that the way in which landscaping is done is that it supports water retention, soil retention, things like that. And as well as with that great idea of pedestrian location areas, but a requirement for a certain amount of green spaces so that we're not allowing just the overdevelopment of cement and buildings and things like that. I'd love to, there's great concepts in here around supporting public safety. So just making sure that we are requiring adequate bike lanes and maybe, and walk spaces, so that we don't have what we have now, which is, narrow, unsafe spaces. So, the newest safety ways, sometimes they put the bike lanes in between a pathway and the street so that the bikers are more protected and they don't have that same kind of interaction with vehicles and so forth. And then going off of what some of the people had commented around murals and art spaces, just a way to communicate that we want to ensure that if that art and murals are placed, that the overall messaging is in alignment with Troutdale's message of a welcoming community that embraces diversity and inclusion of all. So, yeah.
Awesome.
What you said reminds me of, there's this wonderful truck stop, car stop, rest stop on the highway, I-5. And they've done such a wonderful job of like, okay, yes, you have the amenities I need, but they have on it, they have like identified with little stakes all the different trees that are there. So they've taken like nature and figured a way to like pull you out of just that amenity that you were there for. And I always find myself like going off and following, and it could be a good way to also help direct, people by creating a trail, a nature trail, or some kind of trail of interest to get people from this side over there also. In case we don't get that business at that corner.
Do we talk, I had a conversation with you, were any standards created for that level, bottom level floor, be it if it was a business or retail or restaurant?
For mixed use commercial, they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
We are currently working on those.
Okay.
We don't, it's actually a very topical question, because that's how I was having a conversation with Eric about it today. Because when we changed our zones back in 2017, 18, they kind of stopped where we're doing the project, they didn't finish it. So now that's where we have to pick it up, because it hasn't been, so we don't currently have very good standards for that. It is a requirement to have ground floor commercial for mixed use, and we want to push mixed use instead of just apartments in those zones. But we don't have current standards right now. That is something that we need to.
Okay, and then that was based upon a conversation with the planner in Ben when I did the tour of their mixed use buildings that they were doing. They were talking about if it's more height on the bottom level, it just lends itself to just some more appealing and desirable, and also people like it better too when they go in, unless versus a short ceiling.
And that's one of the incentives that we've been talking about is, hey, an incentive for increased height is, okay, if you want to increase height because you want to add, you're going to have a commercial, we need to do bigger ground floor for commercial land. Just because you're doing commercial, that doesn't give you an increased height. But if you want to increase height, that's one of the several that you can choose from to then incentivize for an increase.
Okay. And then also, being on the, well, I'm not currently, but on the Troutdale Historic Society board for so long, we do have that beautiful mural, and that would, you know, that's a big part of history, and we do have a native component as well. It'd be nice if they were, everybody was told that if they would want to work with the Historical Society or, you know, for Castle, that's part of what makes Troutdale. We have this beautiful artwork, we have the fish, and then, again, she's talking to equity, diversion, no, what is it? What was the word again? Equity and inclusion, diversity. But we could add the native component as well, which ties in with the smelt and with you know, a lot of the tribes that fish there, they say many tribes, one fish. You know, they have all this intertwined with the native area, and that's what gathered all the different tribes together. Was their commonality was the fish. So just maybe suggestion to them, if you know, because there's different people. Just the more you know of your town, it just makes it more special and more unique, and you have a certain ownership as well, and create identity. So,
And that's I completely agree with that. And that is something, I don't know our current process, because since I've been here, no one's coming to ask to do a mural. But I believe we have not a committee, but like certain standards for what it has to be. Yeah, you can paint, you can do a mural, but it has to be along X, Y, and Z kind of lines to keep it consistent. So you're not just going to do, hey, I did this mural that's abstract Pollock or something that doesn't fit, you know. But again, I'm not entirely sure, but I think we might have.
yeah, and it could be wind art with fish. I mean, I'm just talking about a whole bunch of different things, or statuary of us native historic characters, or whatever it might look like or be, but just that, let them know that we have the Historical Society to, you know, to draw from.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Well, I'm not trying to come off pessimistic or anything. I just want us to kind of look at what this is going to affect and what potential timeline of any of this happening would be, and what the patchwork of what driving down Halsey would look like. Understanding what's there and understanding what we're trying to do, and I think you kind of hit it a little bit. The cabbage patch there next to ODOT is the only property here that we're actually targeting, and it is undeveloped and has any realistic ability for the next 50 to 100 years until we go through a cycle of those buildings deteriorating, they tear them down, and then they want to rebuild again, which I get before looking that far. That's amazing. But if we were to put ourselves in our car, we pass the flat pantry, we drive it along, we take that corner, we got Shell Station, we got the storage, and then we got the church, you got the ODOT building, and then you got that field, right? That field right there, considering gas station, storage, church, ODOT building, 5-story, commercial in front, parking in back, all this cool stuff we're talking about. And then boom, right into townhomes, neighborhoods, and then Edgefield. So like this whole thing is literally just gonna have the effect on that one property until everybody decides to tear down whatever they have and rebuild it in a new way. I understand it's something we're trying to do, but I still think the meat and potatoes of this, if we want that sort of look to extend, it's gotta include the other in there. And I don't mean to take away from there's my cue just to shut up. I just want you guys to put your story in cards and imagine driving down that road and seeing what's there, and like the only thing that's gonna have that in our lifetime, and I would put money on it, is that one property. So that's all I want to say.
Isn't there a couple of residents, like the Handys? Don't they have a strip of home in the house? There's a few that have that houses in the back. And then Greg Handy, Greg and Sue. No, that was the other side. The other side, Greg and Sue Handy, they have a residential home, and then
But it's a
On the
small,
north- on the
small
north
lot,
side.
it's not like a half acre.
No, it's big, I think it goes in, you know, I mean, it starts on the road and then I think it goes,
I think the hard part with some of with the, like you're saying, that kind of that gap of residential, is that it is residential. So we can't even have commercial, we can have apartments that can then be built to a certain thing, like a certain standard, especially in the high density area, like there could be strictly apartments, full multifamily rather than mixed use, which you still have these standards apply, but but unless if they're not doing apartments, then it wouldn't really apply, because right now in the high density zones, you can't have a single family home anymore. It's not permitted, so you have to do something different, townhomes, fourplex, things like that. The issue is these standards are a little more difficult to apply to residential dwelling, unless it's full scale apartments. But if they're apartments, then we can definitely have these standards apply to all apartments, rather than regular non-mixed use apartments, because the concept's still there. Change in, step back, certain window requirements, outdoor area, outdoor spaces, plaza, like that, all that stuff still applies to apartments. But that's really the only thing that would.
Anyone else?
Is it?
New centers running on a grant, running a special grant about that.
No, we're currently working with through the grant. So
Oh,
yeah.
not running on.
No. We were awarded the grant in February of last year.
And I like some pedestrian plaza. More lighting.
Yeah, more lighting I think is big, especially with having because we're dark at 3:30, like for several months. It's a little difficult. So having really nicely lit spaces, and then even during the summer when it gets dark, it's bright late, but having a nice outdoor area when it's warm with nice lighting, I think there's always something really nice about that during the summer as well as in the winter. All right. Well, thank you all so much. That was great feedback.
Thank you, Dakota.
I'm definitely going to take a lot of this, and we'll go back to our partners and continue moving forward. And I'll stick to thank you for the feedback on the election stuff, so I got to get those out ASAP. Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do a mixture of both. A little bit of me with some thumbs up.
Make it like a political flag. That's a great idea.
So,
Exactly.
with that, I believe we move directly into staff communications.
Alrighty. I don't have too much, trying to remember things off the holiday week. It was more or less getting back into the swing of things this week, I do have, there's a storage building, or accessory storage to Sturgeon Electric that is being approved. Decision goes out tomorrow. I'm trying to think of another project. I just had a lot line adjustment that was approved, a couple modifications that we're working on. I know Nick has been working on that fire grant. They're planning on some, I think another event. There's just very early stages of planning for the spring, I believe, for the fire grant. And I'm not sure if they're moving or if they're staying in Sandy Palisades. Yeah, I think that's really about it right now. We're working on larger code updates. Nick's still working on that code update with HLC. So for those of you that are on HLC, you know about that project, which is for for updating the code to allow for so we can have the language to establish a historic district. And so that's part of a much larger project that he's been working on. Put it this way, it started off with wanting signs, then realized there's a lot of things that had to be done just to put some signs up. And so that's where they're doing that project, but it is moving forward and it seems like it's going really, really well. and it's a good thing that that discussion of signs came up, because I realized we had a hole in our code. And that's why all these stuff that we're doing, that Nick's doing now, is because fixing some wrongs. And you'll hear me say that a lot about our development code. It was kind of pieced together throughout the years, and so now staff has been really trying to get it to be a one cohesive, clean document. And obviously, like I had mentioned earlier, we still have some gaps that we're constantly finding and trying to fix. So next, this will be a project that will, whether it's for approval or not, will be going next year to Planning Commission and City Council. Again, that'll be in February, March. Let me pull up one thing, because it actually helps me see what projects we can work on.
So Erica just sent out the.
That's what I was pulling up, is the forward-looking calendar. I use that all the time, because that she always puts everything in. We have a couple pre-apps coming in. One is for, they want to do apartment building off of 2nd Street. So that's an interesting project. That one we probably won't be able to be scheduled until after the first of the year. But it'll be a vertical mixed use development. So they're coming in with a pre-app. Then there's another pre-app that is scheduled for, I believe, next week. That's Nick's project, and that is for a new trucking facility in the industrial area. So they want to gravel, park more trucks, have a cleaning station, things like that. Yeah, I already said the storage building will be approved tomorrow. Parking lot expansion was approved. That was one of Nick's projects. That was approved. And then, yeah, our current grants that we're still currently working through Main Streets on Halsey, which we just discussed, Sandy River recreation areas, and Troutdale attraction shuttle feasibility and parking management study. Very long name. That one's still in the works. 257th Bridge feasibility study is currently going on. Sandy Riverfront Trail and Park.
For the bridge, is there any public input, or how's it?
Not at this time. There will be. Not right now. We're still just, that's a bit of a slow go. That one, it's more of an ODOT project that we are also assisting with, but there will be when it comes to that. Right now, they're just working on a concept. So once they get a concept that's approvable, then they would have to go out for the community engagement and things of that nature.
Where's that at? What bridge are you talking about?
The 257th,
The 2nd Street Bridge.
2nd Street Bridge.
I thought we had killed that project.
It's still on the master plan.
Mm-hmm. And right now it's just a feasibility study, because I mean the finances.
I think a higher priority is
Just a question on the 2nd Street apartment project. Is that where that house is with the large lot around it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, exactly, that spot.
There is a grant, or an open, what do they call it? RFQ, RFP for design on that bridge on Oregon Bias.
Really?
And I haven't checked it in a month or so, but there was money funded probably from ODOT, I'd imagine, that they went out and searched, and they said Troutdale, and you should read it. It says Troutdale is trying to build a bridge, and we got this money for this study. So it'd be interesting to go to Oregon Bias and read that.
That's all I got.
Alrighty. Well, if there's no other specific questions for staff.
What's happening with the old city hall? I mean, they're still working on the renovations. I know they're trying to find somebody.
They're
still working slowly.
Still working. I think actually Heather had a meeting with them this week, trying to just keep them moving. So they're still working on it, trying to get to a place where they can get at least a TCO and hopefully find something.
TCO means what?
Temporary certificate of occupancy.
$1 to the joint.
Yeah, it's hard.
And then the, hotel that was going in up.
They're still, yep, they have their building permits, so they're still working there. As of, yeah, it's been stopped. So they're under full construction, they're moving through. Home Forward, is currently, seeking, they're trying to get all of their, final inspections. They're planning on being open first of the year. So they're still on their timeline with that.
With the hotel, do you know the story on the mini house sitting on the sidewalk?
That is their office, yes. So that's their construction office. Yeah, we had a lot of discussions about that in the past. We had to do some research on whether or not that's temporary trailer, or whether that's a construction office, because it looks like a tiny home, but that is the contractor, that's what they use as their office. It's not connected to any sort of sewer, water, so.
I wonder how they get in it.
I don't know, it's pretty bad. I know building had a lot of discussions with them about anchoring, because they didn't like how we were requiring them to anchor it. Well, it's on tires on a hill, so it's going to be anchored.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. On Second Street, how many units are being proposed on that site?
I have to recount, I believe it's 15.
Okay.
15 units with 3 commercial spaces.
So currently, legislatively, is the law still, our planners can't, I mean, we have to allow as much density as possible on that Hungry Hill, on that area?
Yes and no. So our density requirements, if they wanted to do just regular apartments, they wouldn't even meet the requirement for apartments, it'd be a quadplex. That's why they're opting to do vertical mixed use, because vertical mixed use then goes under commercial standards, since they have commercial on the ground floor, so they're able to add more density above. So that's how they're going, that's why they're doing the commercial aspect.
What's the cross streets for that project?
Okay, I'm just asking because a lot of people that live already on that hill are complaining about sometimes it's difficult for them to park in there to get to their own home. So unless there's changes, every lot can foresee in the future be fourplexes or be turned into whatever it might get turned into. And that increases a huge burden on what we already have for parking, not knowing what that impact's gonna be as well. I'm just thinking in the future, it's like, and then we're talking about small town feel where potentially all those lands, if somebody's gonna sell them, and a lot of us are getting unsolicited, I'll buy your property now, calls and stuff like that. And I think they probably look more at properties where they can build it more out higher, wider, whatever. Do we not see that as a potential issue for parking and being able to go to our downtown businesses? Do you know what you know where I'm getting at?
I know where you're getting.
Okay, so it's like, I was just like, the legislation or the governor taking away the ability to plan our own cities and for us decide what our needs are and what works for livability. Is that changing at all? I mean, now, do we have the potential to say, hey, we have a big burden now that you gave us the low-income housing, and now with parking, we need some help here. Can we say this area is single-family dwellings? What's left of the property? Is that even a potential discussion, or?
How do I say this? Not necessarily. So that property, for example, that we were just talking about, was already previously approved to be divided into 9 lots, or 6 lots.
Okay.
9 lots. I got that down. Anyway, it was done through middle housing. So it was approved. And then they were going to put townhomes on there, basically row homes. And they received an extension. And then now they don't want to do that because they're having trouble selling that concept to someone to develop. So now they're coming back and they want to do apartments instead. Again, this is very early days. They have a design, they're coming in, we're going to discuss it. The issue that we will be, myself, Erica will be in the meeting with me, because it's a bit of a complex situation. The issue that we will be hammering home is parking. Because that is already, as everybody knows, a tough parking area in our downtown. We're currently in a parking crisis, I would say. So adding more density would be a tough situation, especially when they already have approval for row homes that have parking allotted for each. But the hard thing is so that's what I'm saying is they have something there. But to answer your question, no, the state still has to do whatever the state tells us to do to have the requirements. So, the whole CFAC thing, more density, that's a frustration that I think any planner around the state is feeling right now. Because we hear from our citizens, and we see it every day, but the state doesn't. And they don't realize what they're doing. It has drastic effects on communities. Because they just see it as, oh, this is an answer to a solution, this is a solution, but they're looking from a mile high. So no, we still have to follow what they do, even if it is hindering us. So if, for example, they come in with an approvable project, even though I may or may not agree with something, I have to approve it if it meets the requirements.
Okay, thank you.
That's just what every planner is going through right now in the state of Oregon and Washington.
Alrighty. Move on to committee member comments. We'll start online. Kevin?
Well, I don't have anything to add except a thank you for the hard work. Hope everybody had a terrific Thanksgiving holiday and everything was delightful and delicious. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll just go around the circle. Chris?
Well, I guess, I'll say thanks for another meeting, and this is a few months late for various reasons, but I also wanted to say thank you to Kevin for, singing at First Fridays. I enjoyed that. And I guess I'll just wish you all a Merry Christmas, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next year.
Yes, I missed your jacket this year, but it brings me such joy. Maybe we can do Christmas in July to see it again. Great meeting. Looking forward to connecting and hopefully hearing a little bit more about the trail and getting this site open and where we are with that. It was wonderful to see the community out there walking the dogs in the evening and everything. So I'm really excited to see that and getting it open again. And I hope you all have great holidays and thank you for the presentation. It's great.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I'm so appreciative and happy to be part of this group. I wish you all a wonderful new year, and I want to say I look forward to trying to gather more input for you and hope that we as a collective can continue to brainstorm and find new and creative ways to increase this community engagement so it's not such a chore and hard for you and we really get proper representation.
Yeah, thank you again for your presentation, really appreciate it. Yeah, also kind of on the note, expect to see Chris in a suit this year, maybe next year.
It lights up, it's amazing.
Excellent meeting. And look forward to another year of fun meetings as well. Merry Christmas.
I don't have much to say. There's a community walk tomorrow on the Chop Shop at 10 a.m. and
I am volunteering with Woodward, and I signed up to help set up on Friday, and then I'm gonna do some sort of, I'm on the list to either on Saturday or Sunday helping out too, so, I really like engaging with the community and talking about what's going on. I would love at the next meeting to hear more about the potential of using incentives to gather information like, hey, if you wanna fill this out, you'll be entered to, you can have the opportunity at the end to get a gift card or something like that for a meal. I know that that's something that you guys had to look into with lawyers, and I hope that we can get answers on that. Also still waiting to hear where else bulletin boards might be going up around town. I think that's a great way to engage with the community. I don't have a key for the one at Sunrise Park, it's a place I'm at every single day. There's stuff that could be up there right now that's not up, like the movies that's happening, and anything, any events. I mean, we have places we can post this. So, and I know that we talked about putting a couple more up, so I would like to talk more about that, like where would those go, and when is that actually going to happen, and who's going to be changing out the information on it. So that's something I'd like to know more about. That's all I did.
Just thanks for everything. Merry Christmas to you all.
Just thanks for the presentation. Thank you, Adrienne, and let's see what else. Just everybody have a good New Year and safe holidays. Thank you.
Just brief on the commission and fire, we did extend our contract for 5 years with Russian Fire, as did Wood Village and Fairview. And we're still gonna start, we do have a 12-month opt-out though. And there's gonna be a meeting the Monday right before this meeting, so I'll have more information closer together this time, so. And just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year.
All right, I did all that. A couple quick questions that just came to mind after, that I thought of after we did staff updates. Did Home Forward talk to anybody at Troutdale when they were coming up with the name for that complex?
Not that I know of, I'm not sure. It might have been before my time.
Well, because there was a flyer that went out to the neighbors, basically saying it's the "we're almost done" announcement, and we're gonna have an open house at some point for the locals to go through it, which we don't have dates for yet, but it's coming theoretically. But it's apparently called like the York complex or apartments or something like that. I'd be curious to know how they came up with that.
York,
Y-O-R-K? Yeah. But anyway, so I was curious about that. And then I saw some, as I was driving by one day, I saw some activities down in Sherry's building. Is there something going in there that you're aware of? On the truck stores road.
There was talk about a food, and like, I don't think they ever came in for a pre-app, but I know Nick had handled a couple of questions of someone wanting to put a small food cart pod in the back area, like in the parking lot, and then using the Sherry's building, but I don't believe that's moving forward. So I'm not sure, I heard something about Sherry's building from our building team, but I did not catch what they were saying. They were talking to each other.
Because there for a while, like all the windows were boarded up and everything, and then I was driving by the other day and like a bunch of boards were down and like there was activities inside. So.
I think building said something, so I'll have to, was it either last week or this week, it said something about Sherry building, but I did not catch what it said.
Okay.
So.
Isn't there like a sign like a pizza guy or something on the window? No?
I want to say it was some sort of restaurant was taking over. I can't remember.
It could be, and it's like, since the Russian Cherries is turning into an In-N-Out, so.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
Portions, traffic's already down.
Oh, I know it's gonna be awful.
Traeger's, I love Schroeder's Road. But we're sitting in a line forever now to get into that parking lot.
Yeah, although I have to say, right, that Trader Joe's has the best parking of any Trader Joe's I've ever seen.
That's part of their business model.
It means every other Trader Joe's I've been to has this little parking lot.
Yeah.
And the building that's in now, I mean, it used to be a big lot, so I mean, it's relatively plenty of parking. Interesting.
I believe right now, they're gonna be queuing them through the parking lot, is how it's gonna be queued. I spoke with a planner from Gresham when I was at that conference in October, is how they're kind of planning it right now. And it's gonna be only a single turn, and you're not gonna be able to turn left out to go west anymore. It's only gonna be a right turn out over there.
Of course, it will probably only be an issue for about the first 8 to 10 months, while the novelty wears off. But we'll see. So anyway, I guess with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
You have a motion?
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, everybody.